Hey everyone, my name's Leo, and today we're going to be working on solving word problems. So we will be using what we learned in our last lesson, which was equation solving. And this week we're going to be working with word problems, but we encourage you to approach them the same way that you would if you were working with an equation. So to make equation or expressions out of the problems that you are giving. It may seem unnatural or difficult at first, but we promise it'll get easier. But before we begin solving the problems, we're going to review different operations. You can follow along with the slides, and there's a PDF of the worksheet in the description. Remember to look there before and after each video for additional information. There are two types of word problems we're going to be solving right now: age and number problems, and problems with proportions. So before we get into the real word problems, let's look at some key things to remember to help us write equations. So these are some of the key words or phrases that are going to signify different operations in word problems. So for addition, if we see add, sum, increase, or totals to, it means there's going to be a plus sign, and we're going to be working with addition. As for subtraction, when we see subtract, minus, less, difference, decrease, take away, deduct, or fewer, we're working with subtraction. For multiplication, when we see multiply, product, by, times, it means that we're going to be working with a multiplication problem. For division, when we see divide, quotient, or a number goes into, it means we're working with division. And for equals, we'll see equals the same as equivalent or is. And make sure that when we are working with these problems, you underline them or circle them. It's very helpful. And if you want to pause the video right now and jot these down. So here's an example of some of these keywords to put into context. 5 less than a number is 8. So we can break this equation down to 5 less than a number and is 8. We can replace a number with the variable n, and we know that 5 is being subtracted from it, so we get n minus 5. And we know that is another term for equals, so we get our equation n minus 5 equals 8. And to solve this, all we have to do is add 5 to both sides, and we get n is equal to 13. So here's another similar equation. When 12 is added to a number, it's equal to 30. So when we break this down, we can see that there's two parts to it. When 12 is added to a number, and it's equal to 30. So 12 added to the number means it signifies that we're going to be using multiplication. And like the last problem, a number we're going to use to signify with n. And when we see is equal to 30, we know there's an equal sign in there, so it's equals 30. And we can draw our equation from these two expressions, and we get 12 plus n equals 30. Now all we have to do is solve for this equation. We set up our equation on a piece of paper. 12 plus n equals 30. Subtract 12 from both sides and to isolate our variable, and we get n is equal to 18. Here's another example. 3 times y is the same as 15. When we see the words like times, multiplies, product, by, etc., it means that there's multiplication happening in the equation. 3 times y means that 3 is multiplying into y, and the phrase is the same as means that there's an equal sign. So in this scenario, we get 3 times y equals 3y, and is the same as is 15. So now that we have our problem, 3y equals 15, we can solve it. We just divide both sides of the equation by 3 to get y on its own, and we get y is equal to 5. Let's do one more example before we start working on the worksheet. So 20 less than a number is 3/4 of the same number. Our first step is to break down our problem into parts to make our equation. So let's set the number we're looking for as n. The word less than tells us that we are subtracting 20 from n, so we can represent this as n minus 20. Now we can look at the other part of the problem, 3/4 of the same number. 3/4 can be represented as 3/4, and the word of tells us that the 3/4 is multiplying to something. So far, we have 3/4 times the same number, and since the number isn't changing, we can also represent this as the letter n. So this phrase translates into 3/4 n. The word is separates the two phrases, and it also tells us that each phrase are equal to each other. So we can make our equation. N minus 20 equals 3/4. To solve this, we can use multiplication property and multiply both sides by 4. On the right side, it cancels out the denominator, and we get 3n. While on the other side, we have to distribute first the 4 into the n minus 20, and we get 4n minus 80. Now what we have to do is try to get all the variables onto one side. So subtract 3n from the right side, and now we're left with n minus 80 equals 0. Isolate n, add 80 to both sides, and we get our solution. N is equal to 80. Now we're going to move on to some actual word problems. We're going to go over problems that are from the worksheet. You should probably have a copy of it in front of you so you can note down how to solve these problems and other examples that are on the worksheet. Remember, you can pause the video to note something down, and the PDF is in the description box below. If you're having trouble opening it or finding it, just email us on this account and we can sort things out. Now let's go over question number 3 from the worksheet. Rose had a bunch of candy left over from Halloween. She ate 6 of them and then gave away 1/3 of the candy that was left to her younger sister. She gave 12 pieces of candy to her sister. How much candy did she have in the beginning? So let's make Rose's original candy amount the variable C. Choose whatever variable you feel like using, it doesn't really matter. If she ate 6 pieces, then there are 6 less than C. Therefore, we get the expression C minus 6. She gave away 1/3 of that to her sister after eating 6, meaning she took 1/3 of the remaining candy, which gives us the expression 1/3 C minus 6. If she gave 12 pieces of candy to her sister, we can set both sides of the equation equal to each other because they both represent the amount of candy that her sister had. So we're solving for C, which is her original candy amount. Our current equation is 1/3 parentheses C minus 6 close parentheses equals 12. This is very similar to problems we did in our last lesson. Our first step is to multiply each side by the reciprocal. So in this case, it would be 3 over 1 or just 3. When we multiply each side by 3, on the left side it cancels out and we just have C minus 6. And on the right side, we get 12 times 3 or 36. And now all we have to do is isolate our variable. So add 6 to both sides and we get C is equal to 42. The second problem we're going to be going over from the worksheet is question number 4. And this is a SHSAT inspired problem, so it's really good practice for that. Tanya is 4 years younger than 3 times the age of Linda. The sum of their ages is 20. How old is Linda and how old is Tanya? Let's look at what we know. We know that Tanya's age is represented by 4 years younger than 3 times the age of Linda. So let's set Linda's age to the variable a. 3 times the age of Linda tells us that 3 can be multiplied into a, and 4 years younger than 3 times the age of Linda. 4 years younger means that we're going to be subtracting 4 from 3a. So now we have an expression for Tanya's age, which is 3a minus 4. The second part of the problem says that the sum of their ages is 20. The word sum tells us that Tanya's age and Linda's age are going to add up to be 20 years. So now we can set up our equation. 3a minus 4 plus a equals 20. Now we can solve for Linda's age. So the first thing we have to do is combine like terms. So 3a plus a gives us 4a minus 4 equals 20. Then what we have to do is isolate the variable. So add 4 to both sides, and we are left with 4a equals 24. Now divide both sides by 4, and we have our solution. A is equal to 6. We're not done yet. First, we have to find Tanya's age. So how we can find Tanya's age is we have the expression for Tanya's age, which is 3a minus 4. And since we know Linda's age, we can substitute that in and get us 3 times 6 minus 4 and simplify this, and we get 14 equals Tanya's age. Another way we can do this is by using the sum of their ages. So we know that Tanya's age and Linda's age added up to 20, and we could also just subtract 6 from 20 to get Tanya's age. Thanks for watching our video. Remember to subscribe to our channel and email us if you have any questions. Your homework is to do questions 1 and 2 on the worksheet below. If you'd like to move on to the rest of the worksheet or do problems 5 through 8, please go ahead. And we will be posting another video for the solutions to those homework questions. We miss you, and we hope your families are safe and healthy. Bye.